الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين وإمام الخلق أجمعين سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله شهادة مليئة بالعرفان مخرجة صاحبها من النيران مدخلة إياه إلى الجنان أما بعد. My sisters and my brothers, a week ago, for those who were present, we spoke about love. Not the kind of love we have of our fellow human beings or things we adore, but rather the love of our God. And for those of you who remember, we tried to bring that point home, by talking about how when you love a spouse or a friend, you will become overoccupied with thinking about them. You text them 24/7. You are waiting for them to text you 24/7. You tweet them all the time. You go to their Facebook 25/7, not 24/7. You think about them. You dream about them. You go to sleep dreaming about them. You wake up thinking about them. Believe me, I was there. Maybe I am there. I am married, and I like to think of my wife in such a fashion, you know. And when, believe me, sometimes I anticipate texting from my wife when she does not send. Why didn't she send it? You know, I have that feeling, you know. And she feels the same way. When my kids don't show their love of me in the very same manner, sometimes it hurts my feelings. You know, why didn't Nurjana send me a text message? You know. So we spoke about how we can drive that point from the love that we have of people we like and people around us or things we like to the love of God. And as I went home that last Friday and continued to think about the subject for myself, what came to my mind earlier this morning, that I have been an imam for about 26 years. And I started studying Islam really extensively at the age 9. So add the math yourself. I dare to say, I never ever felt very proud about being a Muslim more than this last week. In so many ways, shapes and forms, it made me think differently about the Quran, about Hadith, about the prophets of God, about God himself. It made me fall into this new garden that was not far away from me, but I have yet to experience it. I have been praying since maybe age 5, you know, going to the mosque. I went on the Hajj. I did so many Umrahs. I started fasting Ramadan at age 7, trust me. But never felt what I felt this last week, because I learned something myself even about hubb, mahabbat, this adoration, this love one could have of God that could change the whole equation, could change for you how you think, how you operate, how you pray in completely a new fashion. So I went back to study what earlier scholars have said about mahabbat, about this love that we have been discussing. So a scholar says, المحبة هي معقد النسبة بين الرب والعبد ومعية المحبوب مع الحبيب. It is this relationship that one would establish with God, and the feeling that you are actually with ma'iyya, with all the time, internally and externally, with the beloved. So to know that you love God, the question is, do you feel that relationship? Not a relationship that books talk about, but a relationship that you yourself have. Do you feel you are with God internally and externally? Do you feel that God is with you internally and externally? Another scholar said, هي روح الإيمان والأعمال فإن خلت الأعمال من المحبة كانت كالجسد بلا روح. That love is the spirit of faith and the spirit of all deeds. And deeds that are empty of love are very much like a body empty of soul. No life, even if you see it, even if you touch it, there's no life in it. So when you go to the mosque, when you pray 5 times a day, if you do not have that adoration, if you do not have that relationship, if you are not doing it out of love, for the love of God, it will be like a dead body. Nothing comes out of it. إذا غرست, and when with this love, it will be like a tree. When you pray with love, it will be like a tree, gives fruits. And when you have no love, it will be like a dry tree that you want to cut off. Imagine. Another definition of love. الميل الدائم بالقلب الحائم وإيثار المحبوب على جميع المصحوب. Which means, when the heart is overwhelmed with God, so much so that your heart is connected and leaning towards that God. So much so that you favor God on all of the beloved things to you. All the beloved things to you. So much so that God becomes your sahib, becomes your companion, becomes your friend, becomes a copy of you and your partner. Another definition of mahabba is موافقة الحبيب في المشهد والمغيب. It is when your will becomes one with the will of the beloved. Not only in public, but also in secret. Is my will with the will of God at home as it is on the street? Is it with the will of God in Mecca as it is in New York? Is it with the will of God in the classroom as it is on the highway? Is it in my heart as it is on my tongue? Another thing. أن تهب كلك لمن أحببت فلا يبقى لك منك شيء. Love of God is when you give all of your totality to the one you love. So much so, you are left with nothing of you for yourself. Imagine that. You give your totality to God, to the beloved, so much so nothing is left of you for you. Nothing of your brain is left behind for you, but you have given it to God. Nothing of your heart is left behind. Nothing of your soul is left behind. Nothing of your wealth is left behind for you. Nothing of your time, nothing of your energy, nothing of your brain, nothing of your intelligence, nothing of your title, nothing of your fame, nothing is left for you, but you have given to God. That is the essence of love. قل إن صلاتي ونسكي ومحياي ومماتي لله رب العالمين. Who said this in the Quran? Ibrahim alayhi salam. He said, say indeed, my prayer, my sacrifice, my life and my death are all for my Lord, the Lord of the universe. Ibrahim, what is the nickname of Ibrahim in the Quran and in Hadith? Khalil. And we spoke about this a few years ago. In Arabic there are different names for a friend. You have Sadiq, Sahib, Sadiq, and Khalil. Sahib is someone you accompany to do something. Sadiq is someone you don't only accompany, you always trust and who trusts you. And number 3 level of companionship is Khalil. Khalil is this in Arabic, it's called Khalil. When what is my finger, where is it, where is not, they become one. Ibrahim became one with God, if you will. Why? Because he gave his totality to God. God said, do, and he did. Get out of Iraq, and he left. Get out of Syria, he left. Get out of Egypt, he left. Get out of Palestine, he left. Give up on your son, he did. Everything. Why? Not because he was afraid of God, but rather because he loved God. So much so, the will of God became what was important. The will of the beloved. I mentioned the story before here, but maybe some of you did not hear it, some of you have. Just to bring the story home about a personal narrative. Many years ago, I was coming home, and I was coming home late. Now I know what makes my wife angry and what makes her happy. And I know then I knew what makes her happy is a group of roses. Sort of to make her forget that I have been late. So the flight came late, I came to Frederick, Maryland, there was no store open at 11 p.m. My God, I went crazy. Not that I thought that my wife would hit me up, or beat me up, or whip me, or throw me out of home. She would never do that out of her love. But I did not want to harm that love that she had for me. I want to protect it, I want to cater for it. Up to 12:30 at night, I found nothing. I drove for almost 45 minutes to Hagerstown, for those of you who know Maryland. That was to the store there that might have it. And thank God that was the last collection. I came home at 2 a.m. And as I rang the bell, as she opened the door, the first thing I did, before she saw my face, I put that in. My God, it changed the whole equation. I'll never forget that happy face. I did not do it because I was afraid, but rather to protect that love. Because the will of the beloved became what was important to me at the moment. I went as far as I could for the sake of my beloved. But remember, guess what? God is more beautiful than my wife. God is more perfect than my wife. God is more adorable than my wife. God hears more than my wife. God sees more than my wife. God witnesses more than my wife. God gives more than my wife. God is patient more than my wife. God gave me what my wife could never give me. God embraced me when my wife never did. God will continue to give when my wife will cease to give. If I am willing to have the beloved, the will of my beloved, my wife, come first, what should I say about the will of God, whose essence is perfection? My sisters and my brothers, Junaid, the very well-known tabi'i, once said, describing what it means to love God. عبد ذاهب عن نفسه متصل بذكر ربه. A devotee who has left himself behind, traveling towards his Lord, always in a state of remembrance of God. قائم بأداء حقوقه, always fulfilling the duties, the rights of God upon him. ناظر إليه بقلبه, looking at God through his heart. فإن تكلم فبالله, when he speaks with God, with the words of God. وإن نطق فعن الله, when he utters something, it will be something about God. وإن تحرك فبأمر الله, when he moves with the command of God. وإن سكن فمع الله, when settles, he sits with God. فهو بالله ولله ومع الله. He loved God so much. He has become so close to God through love. He is with Allah, for Allah, always next to Allah. And I finish with the poetry or the poem by Rabia Al-Adawiyah, the very well-known scholar who lived in the 9th century of Islam. When she was asked to describe her love of God, she said, أحبك حبين, حب الهوى وحبا لأنك أهل لذاك. Oh God, I love you. Two kinds of love. The love of the heart, and that's a selfish love. And the love because of who you are. فأما الذي هو حب الهوى فشغلي بذكرك عما سواك. My selfish love is that I'm overoccupied all the time with your remembrance, thinking about you. وأما الذي أنت أهل له, the other love that I have for you is your very equalities, very characteristics, very essence. فلا الحمد في ذا ولا ذاك لي ولكن لك الحمد في ذا وذاك. Praise goes no way to me in any way about anything. Only praise goes to you, oh God. فليتك تحلو والحياة مريرة وليتك ترضى والأنام غضاب. Oh God, if you are so sweet with me, I don't care if the entire world is bitter for me. And if you are satisfied with me, I don't care if the entire universe is angry with me. وليت الذي بيني وبينك عامر وبيني وبين العالمين خراب. Oh God, if my relationship with you is alive, I don't care if all relationships are dead. إن صح منك الود فالكل هين وكل الذي فوق التراب تراب. Oh my beloved God, if your love of me and your affection of me is alive, then I remember this, that everything on top of dust will come to be dust again. So you are the everlasting, and if your love is there, your love will always be everlasting with me. Why would I care about anything else? Let us love God from our hearts, our souls, our minds. Let us translate that love into action. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه. Make istighfar and ask Allah for forgiveness. الحمد لله الكريم المنان، الحمد لله بالطول والفضل والإحسان، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله. شهادة مليئة بالعرفان مخرجة صاحبها من النيران مدخلة إياه إلى الجنان. أما بعد، The Prophet said, on the authority of Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, David, he said the best supplication David ever gave was this. I want you to memorize it, by the way. Allahumma inni as'aluka hubbuka wa hubba man yuhibbuka wal amal alladhi yuballighuni hubbuka ij'al hubbaka ahabba ilayya min nafsi wa ahli. Repeat after me. Allahumma inni as'aluka hubbaka wa hubba man yuhibbuka wal amala alladhi yuballighuni hubbaka ij'al hubbaka ahabba ilayya min nafsi wa ahli. Which means, oh my Lord, I seek your love, and I ask for me to have the ability to love you and love those who love you, and to love to do what makes me close to your love and worthy of your love. Make my love of you more adorable than my love of myself and my family, my sisters and my brothers. If that is the case, if you love Allah for His beauty, if you love Allah for His perfection, if you love Allah for His constant love of you, constant care for you, constant embrace of you, constant giving of you, constant sustenance that He gives and passes on to you. If you love God for being the beautiful God, the glorified God, the majestic God, the peaceful God, the merciful, compassionate, gracious God, if you love God that much, translate that love into action. My sisters and my brothers, to show that you love, obey to the fullest. Do not run away from Him. Listen to what He's telling you to do and do. Listen to His command and obey, because within that command comes love, and within that obedience comes peace. I finish with one example. Are you coming to prayer because you are told you have to go to pray? Or because you want to take half an hour to be in love more with God? Do you want to just do it quick and go home or go to your class? Or do you experience a true half an hour of love with God, the everlasting, the sustainer? Don't rush running away from your beloved, for you would not do that with your beloved, a human being. When you surrender your back in bowing, when you surrender your forehead in prostration on the floor, remember you are doing it to the one you love, who deserves all the prostration and the bowing. And you must feel the honor of having been allowed to be in the presence of the beloved. Show your love by reading more Quran, by extra prayers, by taking care of the poor, and becoming a voice of the voiceless. That is true love of God, whose essence is everlasting goodness and perfection. O Allah, forgive us our sins. Wipe out for us our shortcomings and mistakes. Purify for us our souls, and cleanse for us our hearts. Bring us into your divine presence of love. Bring us under your umbrella of mercy and of compassion. allow us the honor to be in your presence, the honor to be worthy of being your servants, standing at your door, publicly and secretly. Accept from us our salah and answer for us our dua. اللهم اغفر لنا ذنوبنا وكفر عنا سيئاتنا وارحم ضعفنا وأحسن خلاصنا وتولى بالباقيات الصالحات أعمالنا وأقم الصلاة إن الصلاة تنهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر ولذكر الله أكبر والله يعلم